All right, thanks for joining. My name is Jim Crispino. I'm Senior Director of Developer Evangelism here at Genesys, and we're going to cover Dialog Engine for developers today. So a few logistics. We're going to have a 10-minute Q&A at the end of the tutorial. And this tutorial is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our community YouTube channel that you can access from YouTube, or you can get the link from developer.mypurecloud.com/video on our Developer Center. So what is Dialog Engine? So Dialog Engine is Genesys's own natural language understanding engine that allows you to build chatbots with Genesys technology. So it's analogous if you've used Amazon Lex or Google Dialogflow. It's very similar to that. It can accept text. It'll determine the intent of the text and try to pull out data out of that text and have a conversation, a live conversation with a user, and can potentially escalate to an agent if needed. And Dialog Engine is able to work with the entire Genesys platform suite. So it works with Genesys Cloud via Architect. It can work with Pure Connect via Intelligent Automation, and it can work with Genesys Engage via Intelligent Automation or Genesys Designer. So Dialog Engine is built into Genesys Cloud. Even if you're using Connect or Engage, it is a Genesys Cloud product, and you would access it through a Genesys Cloud org that's attached to your product. You can go to Genesys add-ons, and Genesys Dialog Engine is in there as a component that you can activate. And so if you are an admin for your org, you can go to Genesys add-ons. You'll see a list of the add-ons, and you just click. If you have the permission to do so, you can activate that and turn Genesys Dialog Engine on. So I want to take a second here and apologize. There was a bit of a scheduling snafu with this. I'm going to talk about Dialog Engine, but this is actually our original version. We have a brand new version coming out tomorrow that's accessed slightly different than this one. But by the time we sent the invitation for this webinar out and had everyone scheduled and joining, it was a little too late to back out. So I am going to cover kind of the old Dialog Engine today, but tomorrow it's going to look a little bit different. It's actually going to be built right into Architect, and we'll show you what that will look like as we go through this webinar. But as of today, if you were to enable that, you would actually have to access Dialog Engine from a separate URL outside of Genesys Cloud. So it's related to the URL you have. You just have to manually put into the address bar your Genesys Cloud region /dialog-engine to get to the Dialog Engine workbench today. Tomorrow it will actually be inside of Architect. You won't have to go to a separate URL to get to it, and you'll be able to design your bots and invoke them right from Genesys Architect inside of Genesys Cloud. So I want to cover off a few key terms that I'll be using throughout this presentation to explain. If you're new to bots, hopefully this will be enlightening. If you've been building bots, this is going to be old hat for you. But with a bot, there's a couple of terminologies we like to use. So intents are, what does the user want to do? In this example, the intent is that the user wants to book a room. They want to book a room at a hotel. Okay, so that is their intent. How they do that is through an utterance. Okay, an utterance is, what do they say to the bot to let the bot know that they want to book a room? You can imagine everybody might say this sentence in a different way. Everybody speaks a little bit differently. They have different ways of putting words together. So the utterance can change, but the intent is the same. They want to book a room no matter how they say that sentence. In the sentence, they might just say, I want to book a room. That doesn't tell the business much about booking that room. And So there are slots that need to be filled. There are certain things, almost like making a function call in a programming language. There are certain parameters needed to book a room, okay? So those in bot terminology are slots, and we have to fill those slots with data in order to perform that intent. So in this case, we have a couple of slots. We have a custom slot for the type of room. Genesys doesn't know what room types are available from hotel to hotel. Some might have suites, some might have double suites, some might have penthouses, whatever. So the room type is a custom type that's defined within the bot definition. But the number of nights is just a number. It's a built-in type of a number. The date you want to book the room is just a date. So that's also a built-in type. But so you can have built-in types and you can have custom types. And the slots are the slots are the things that a programmer needs to invoke some function or some API request or some system to actually make that booking. So that's slots and slot types. And then there's confirmation messages. And that would be, what does the bot have to ask if the user doesn't provide all the slot information in their first sentence? What question does the bot need to ask in order to fill that slot? So confirmations are associated with slots. And we'll see that here in a minute. This will all make sense when you see the UI. So most of everything I'm going to talk about today is already available in our resource center. I often find that people don't even know we have a resource center, or if they do, they don't think to go look there for some of the technologies that we have. But at help.mypurecloud.com, you can go there. That's publicly available. You don't need a login. You can go there and search. And if you put in Dialog Engine into the search field, you're going to come up with the About Dialog Engine topic, and all of the subjects under that topic are here. And that does it for my slides. So I didn't want to bore you with too much in slides. I want to actually show you how this is going to work. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I am going to share. Hold on. Click the wrong button. I'm going to share, but I'm going to stop the slides. All right. And I'm going to drag over. All right, let me make this a little bigger. So as I said, help.mypurecloud.com. If you just type in Dialog Engine, the first thing is about Genesys Dialog Engine. And if you click on that, most of the topics that I'm going to talk about are in here. You can go through this later at your own time or review this video, and that'll give you a lot of this. And if you click on some of these subjects, you want to create a bot, and you're going to go to a different view. It's going to open Genesys Dialog Engine in its own documentation, and there's an overview. Again, the key terms are here, the slot stuff's here, the URLs are here. It's how to create your first bot. And a lot of this will also be included back in the mypurecloud.com help site as well. So some of the documentation will be back there as well. But I would encourage you to peruse the documentation. I've already opened the old Dialog Engine in its dashboard. Again, today that's accessed through an external URL, but tomorrow that's going to be inside of Architect. But the concepts are the same. The terminology of intents and slots and filling those slots and confirmations, that's all going to be very similar. Even the UI is going to look a little similar. And what I want to show you today is a banking bot that we have. This is actually an example I downloaded from our help center and uploaded into my bot, into my dashboard. And the UI, you start over here on the left. You've got intents. you can define the intents. What is it that the user wants to do in this bot? The slots that need to be filled if you have custom slots. And then there's knowledge and learning. We'll cover all of these. So with intents for this banking bot, there are several things that a customer could do with the chat bot on the website. They might want to fill out an account application. And with an intent, so that's what they want to do. They want to fill out an account application. Here's all the ways that they might kick off that intent. You can have numerous utterances. Again, there are many ways to say the same sentence in any language, especially in English. And so you want to cover off as many of the utterances that you think they might say. Interestingly enough, you don't have to fill out every single utterance. The NLU is smart enough to kind of apply an algorithm to come up with a confidence level that what they said matches an existing utterance to a certain percentage. So if it falls within a threshold of a percentage of confidence, it'll say, oh, I think that you're wanting to open an account. So even though you may only have five utterances and the user might specify something that's not in your list, that still might have a high enough confidence level to identify that this is what they want to do. For this particular one, for account application, there are certain slots that we need. We need account, the type of account they want to open, and their phone number so we can contact them. So the bot would fill these slots for us. And the prompt for these things, if the user just says, I want to apply, right? That's all they say, I want to apply. We still need to fill these slots. And so the bot would use these questions to ask them for that data. And if the confidence level, if it's not a high enough threshold, the bot will say, hey, I'm fairly confident this is what you want to do. And it would prompt the user with this question to confirm that the bot figured out the intent properly and should continue on filling the slots. So that's where the confirmation question comes in. And so if we go back to intents, you can have any number of intents. Currency exchange, that's one I'm probably going to use today in my demo. So if you wanted to exchange currency, you might say that in a number of different ways. You might actually include the amount of currency and the from and the to. Those are actually the slots we have to fill, is from what currency, what to currency, and what conversion amount do we want to convert. All right, so let's see this in action. So I'm going to hop over here to Genesys Cloud. And in admin, I have set up a couple of things. I've got a queue where currency exchange is going to come in. And I've got users in that queue. So let me show you that. I've got DevCast currency exchange. I'm the only member in this queue. And for chat, I've got a script that's going to show me the currency exchange that the bot collected. So as an agent, I can actually process that. Along with that, I've created a chat widget. So I've gone to widgets. And I have created a DevCast chat widget that is going to invoke a flow that I call Dialog Engine. So it's any chat on the website that starts up that's hooked to my DevCast chat deployment, this deployment key right here, is going to invoke this architect flow called Dialog Engine. So let me hop over to that flow. So in architect, if you go to inbound chat, I've got my Dialog Engine architect flow. And again, this is the old, this is what we're calling the old Dialog Engine. So it uses a Dialog Engine block where in the new architect that's coming out tomorrow, it's going to look slightly different. We'll show you a demo of that here in just a minute. But I wanted to give you an idea of how this works. As any normal chat, it's going to come in and start a chat. We're going to reply back to the person, letting them know, just giving them a welcome message. We're going to prompt them for how can we help them. And then we're going to call Dialog Engine. We're going to let the Dialog Engine bot, the banking bot, run. So if I click that block, so the Dialog Engine bot block says that I want the banking bot to be invoked. So that's going to invoke that bot and have all of our intents sitting there that are actionable. And depending on what the user types, the bot will try to determine the intent. The intents are automatically branches off of the bot. So if the bot determines the intent and fills those slots, it will branch into the correct intent flow. And I've coded out for currency exchange. That's what I'm going to demo to you today. So in the currency exchange, I know the bot filled out the slots by the time it gets to this branch. And so what I've done is I've taken from the intent, I've taken the currency amount, the from currency, and the to currency. I put them into variables, and I'm going to set those as participant data that's going to travel with that chat as it escalates to an agent. After I move those variables from the bot onto the chat conversation to route to the agent, I'm going to let the user know that I'm getting an agent involved, and I'm going to transfer that to my DevCast currency exchange queue, where Jim is the only agent and will be able to handle that. So let's see this in action. If I invoke that bot, I'm going to hop over to my development tools. So let me show you how I got there. If you go to developer.mypurecloud.com, this is our developer center. And under the tools section, if you go to web chats, we have a web chat tool that makes it really easy to test any web chat functionality. It also makes it really easy to get the snippet of code to embed in a website. So if you didn't know how to embed chat on a website, Genesys Chat, you can grab this snippet of code and put this on your website, and this will do the same operation of invoking a chat as what I'm going to do inside this UI. But all I had to do was pick my DevCast chat deployment that I created under admin. I'm going to pick my queue, DevCast currency exchange queue. I'm going to repopulate the fields. So populating the fields just fills out some dummy data of a person, a visitor to your website who wants to chat with an agent. I'm going to click Start Chat. That's going to bring up the Genesys widgets on the website. So this is what you would see on a real website. And the user would fill out their first and last name. We've made it easy so that you don't have to fill that out. I'm not going to put a subject in. But because this is hooked to my DevCast chat widget deployment, which is hooked to my Dialog Engine architect flow, I'm going to click Start Chat. And there's my messages. Welcome to Genesys Dialog Engine example. And how can I help you today? I'd like to exchange currency. Okay, I didn't give it any of the information. And based on what I typed in, Dialog Engine thinks, oh, well, it could be any of these three intents. I want to confirm that. I'll go ahead and say, yes, I want to do a currency exchange. And it says, which currency would you like to convert from? I'm going to convert from US dollars. And I'm going to convert to euros. And I'd like to convert $1,000. All right, please wait while we find someone to help you with that. So let me hop back over here to Genesys Cloud. Let me get out of admin here and go on queue. So here's my chat coming in. As an agent, I get to see what happened in the bot. I can read everything that happened in the bot. The italics are system messages that we sent. You get to see what the user sent. You get to see what the bot workflow sent back. So I can see as an agent, I have some context here. And in addition, because the bot filled those slots for me, and in my architect flow, I added those slots as participant data to the conversation, that data is available to me, and I have an agent script over here. Just a really simple agent script that just shows the 4 values that I wanted to know. So I don't have to dig through this chat and figure out what they wanted to do. I have it right here in an agent script that says, oh, they wanted to exchange currency, $1,000 from US to euros. Pretty easy. As an agent, I can type back to the customer. Tear that off so we can see that. So I'm handling the chat. It's now just a customer to an agent chat. The bot is not involved. The bot's not listening at all. The bot dropped out after it determined the intent and filled the slots. So that's all there is to working with bots. And one other thing I want to cover off. I'm going to go ahead and close this chat out and close that. And I'll end this chat processed. And I'm back in queue. We'll go off of queue so we don't get disturbed. So we have our bot. Let me go back to Dialog Engine. Sorry. All right. So we have our bot definition here. Right, we've got all of our intents. Under our intents, we've got our utterances, our slots, our confirmation questions. What I want to show you now is, as a developer, Genesys Cloud is an API-first platform. The APIs that are behind Dialog Engine are also available on our platform API. So if you go to the language understanding section, these are the APIs for the NLU portion of Genesys Dialogflow. So if you wanted to see what bots are defined, what intents are there, you can use these APIs to do that. So I've brought up a few of them already. Again, I got to this tool by going to the Developer Center, clicking on the API Explorer tool, and it'll bring you right into here. So if I wanted to get a list of all the NLU domains, so that's basically what are the bots that I have defined on the system. This runs live against your org. This is like Postman, but already authenticated against your org. So I can click send request. Let me reload. Logged me out since yesterday. All right, so I send a request, I get a 200 OK back. And you can see some of the bots that I have defined. Let's go down and find our banking bot. So right here is the definition of our bot. It's not the full definition, it's just that we have a bot named the Dialog Engine Banking Bot, and this is its GUID, this is its ID. So let me grab that. And once I have that, if I come back down to language understanding and expand that again, since I reloaded it, close that, I can go get the definition of that bot. So that is find it, it's this get right here. And I've actually got that open. I'm going to close that window because I've got it open here. So this API request will actually get you the full bot definition. So I've already pasted in the domain, and the version ID was returned there as well. So let me show you that. So there's two things you need off of here. You need the ID and you need the published version. So with a bot, you need to publish your bot. And when you do, it creates a new version of that bot. So you need both the ID of the bot and the version that you're wanting to invoke. And if you put both of those in, and let's go ahead and include utterances, and I'll send that request. I get the JSON payload back. It gives me the list of all the intents. Okay, so here's my intent, and here are the things I need to fill out for that intent. Here are the utterances for that intent. Everything you would need for that bot definition is here. And so you can look through that at all the intents that are there. And then you can call the detect intent. It's this post right here to detect intents, entities and stuff. You can actually invoke the bot. So if I wanted to say, I'd like to exchange $1,000 for pesos, right? I want to invoke this bot with this bot version, and I'll send that request. So I get back, it took my text, it analyzed it, it sent it through the NLU, and it filled out the slots for me. So it said, all right, I think currency exchange is a 94% confirmation for that intent, right? So that's the probability that the NLU thought that what I was asking for was a currency exchange. And we'll see the other intents later. They're not such a high confidence. But along with the intent, it filled out the entities for me. So it parsed my string of text and it pulled out the from currency, US dollars. And it actually inferred that from the dollar sign, which is kind of cool. So it saw that I wanted $1,000. If I go up and look at my text again, I put the US dollar sign on the front of that. So it inferred US dollars from that. So then I come down, I keep scrolling down. It says, all right, the conversion amount was 1,000 and you wanted to convert it to Mexican pesos. If I go down and continue to scroll down, it gives me the other intents, but you can see the probability of those intents. This is a 4% probability, 3%. I mean, it just goes down, right? So it obviously was fairly confident. It was confident enough in exchange currency to fill out those slots for me. So you could use this API maybe outside of Architect or even outside of a bot. One thing I'm thinking of playing with is emails, doing content analysis on emails, sending the email body in might be an interesting use case for this to determine what an email is about, not just the subject line, but maybe the body, and then being able to route that to the appropriate agent. That would be a cool use case that possibly could be used for invoking the NLU. But really, you could invoke it, you know, if you had a form on a website or something like that, you can invoke it, get the data. And I liken it to a regex expression. You know, you think of running a regex on a long string of text to pull out the matches. This is kind of cool where you could just pass in data and the NLU engine will do inference on the string of characters and the sentence there and pull out the data so that you don't have to have a whole bunch of complicated logic, because Genesys has already built that for you to parse strings and pull out data from them, as long as you tell it what the slots are and what the utterances can be. So one other thing I didn't touch on, back on the definition of my bot, is we also support knowledge bots. So this is like an FAQ, and you can upload knowledge into a bot. Let me show you what that looks like. So if you wanted to update a bot, it wants you to upload a knowledge file. If you don't have any knowledge, it'll give you a download of this CSV, a sample. And it's really just 2 columns. It's what's the question, what's the answer. It's that simple. You have to have at least 5 questions for the bot to train itself, but you can have any number of questions and any number of answers, and you can upload that into your bot. And you can test your bot. If I want to test my knowledge and I say, what hours are you open? Wrong intent, hold on. What are your hours of There we go. So this came directly from my knowledge, right? What are your hours of operation? Our branch offices are open from 9 to 5, right? And so the bot is able to pull from FAQ knowledge and display that. Now, what I want to show you in case of that can also be used on a chat bot. The chat bot can look up that knowledge and respond back, but there's an API behind that as well. So if I hop back to my API Explorer and I go down, go up to knowledge, it's right above language understanding. We have the API to get to the knowledge as well. And so I've got two tabs open for those as well. So here is a request to get all the knowledge bases that we have defined across the bots. So if I look, here's my knowledge base for the banking bot. Here's the knowledge base. And I can get the knowledge that's in that bot if I call the get documents request over here, and I paste that knowledge base ID in, I can send that request. And I get all of the FAQ questions. They can be in language. So this I uploaded this for US English. I get the question and the answer and any alternatives. And so my 5 questions are in here. I can pull those out. So a nice use case for that would be, let's say on your website, you want an FAQ page that the page is backed by the Genesys knowledge base, and your bot on that website is also backed by the same knowledge base. So you only have one knowledge base to maintain. You can make this request to get the knowledge and render that FAQ page. And that way you can either use a bot or you can let visitors go to an FAQ page on your website and dig through the questions and answers themselves. So again, a nice use case, or maybe in a mobile app, you wanted an FAQ page. It doesn't have to be in a bot for you to get to this knowledge. So with that, I've kind of shown you the old dialog engine, how you would incorporate that using Genesys widget deployment, an architect flow. But as I said at the start of this is all, you're going to get a new UI tomorrow. And so I want to see if I can turn this over to Nicola, who's the product manager, and she's going to show the new architect. So Nicola, let's see if we can turn this over to you. If I stop sharing, are you able to share?
Yeah, I should be able to. Can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, and how long am I allowed to talk for?
Go ahead and talk. I'll get the questions answered one way or the other.
Okay, just tell me to stop if I'm rambling on too long. So Jim's already mentioned that he was showing you Dialog Engine, and our new release is called Dialog Engine Bot Flows, which you'll see just right underneath Dialog Engine on the list in the resource center. And just to make it really clear, so Architect, Dialog Engine Bot Flows that are going GA tomorrow are only available on Genesys Cloud, and they'll be available on Engage. I think it's like the second half of this year. So we're actually going to have 2 dialog engines running at once for a while. Just that's a bit confusing, but that's the way it is. So if I'm going to start by showing you a demo first, and then I'll go in and show you the configuration side. And what this is, so I'm not a developer, so I don't go to the resource center, but this is a script, or not the resource center, the development center. So this is the script that Jim mentioned where you can run a widget. So this is how I do my tests. So I'm gonna make, I've got an appointment booking bot, and I'm gonna make 2 chats into the bot here. The first chat, I'm going to give 1 piece of information at a time. I'm going to make some mistakes. And then the second chat, it's going to be a lot more smooth. So the bot's asking me the welcome message. So I'm going to say, I'd like to book an appointment. So the bot's asking me to confirm. So similar to the original dialog engine that Jim just showed, this is the confirmation prompt. So then I say, yes. What date would you like? I'm going to say next Tuesday. That's fine. And now it's asking me what time on Tuesday. So now I'm going to do something really silly and say 3 a.m. So at this point, the bot is able to check that that answer is not valid and that I need to pick a time between 8 and 6 p.m. So this is something new that we can actually do validation as the users are inputting their data, which isn't available today. So let's say 3 p.m. Okay, which doctor number would you like? I have no idea, so I'm just going to put something random, 5. And at this point, the bot is actually going away and doing a data action lookup and checking whether that was valid and coming back and giving me the names of the doctors. In an ideal world, I maybe would have been giving them up front, but this is just to show you what it's doing. Again, this is really good because we can add links to backend lookups at any point in the flow that we want. So now let's pick doctor number 1. And here we're getting back all the information. So you'll see that that's transferred number 1 into Jack Jones. It's got all my details, so I can confirm that that's correct. So it's booked that into the system. That's great. So the second example that I'll show is the bot being able to pick up quite a lot of information at once. So I'd like to book an appointment next Tuesday at, let's say, 3:30 p.m. So here I'm given the intent, and I'm also given 2 slots. So next Tuesday and 3 p.m. So the date and the time. Again, I'm getting asked to confirm, so I'll say yes. Which doctor number would you like? Now I know, so I'm going to pick 2. So that one went a lot more smoothly. But what I'm going to show you now is I'll switch over to the configuration slide, or the configuration side. So this was the kind of old original dialog engine that Jim just showed you. And this is the new dialog engine. So dialog engine bot flows, and they're a supported flow within Architect. So they're not standalone. So you invoke them by one of the inbound flows. So for example, call, chat, or messaging. And if I click on, let's go to the one that I was at, the inbound chat one. Go to my appointment booking bot. And all this inbound chat flow is doing is calling on to my bot flow. It's not doing much else. But if we wanted, if we already had the account number available, we could pass the account number into the bot as an input, and then the bot wouldn't ask the user for the account number again. Similarly, if we had any information that outputs from the bot that we want to use in the calling flow, we can do that. And then down here we can get the exit reason or the intent. So for example, you can pick up if the users have requested to speak to an agent, then do some logic in here to configure that user to go to the right agent. We can do logic with the intent. So for example, if the intent is book appointment, do one thing. If it's book or cancel appointment, do another. Let me just go into the bot flow. So before, to access Dialog Engine, you went to the URL that Jim was explaining, and it is in Canada. I couldn't answer that question on the chat. But today, well, from tomorrow, if you're on Genesys Cloud, you will access bot flows via here. So, or else you can go to whichever flow you have the bot configured and then click on this little button and it will bring you to the bot flow. So one of the reasons why we merged Dialog Engine and Architect was because the main bit of feedback that we got from users was that it was a bit confusing and disjointed to kind of do your natural language in one product, whether that be Dialog Engine, Dialogflow, Lex, and then the dialogue management in another product, whether that be Architect, intelligent automation, or designer. So that's why we've put it all together. So let me see if I can open this way. So you'll notice that here, the natural language and all the dialogue management all in one place, so it's much easier to use. If I click on some of the natural language stuff over here, you'll notice that it's very similar to what Jim showed. So you've got your utterances, your slots, and your slot types, and they are all configured more or less the same as what Jim showed. The only difference would be that where you maybe configured some wording in here, some prompt wording, that would be done in the dialogue management piece over here. So it's just a bit of chopping and changing from where you would configure stuff, but it's all more or less the same. A couple of things to point out that are new with Dialog Engine bot flows. If I just make this a bit bigger, I always do that. This a bit bigger. So first of all, we have this ask for intent action, and it is going to ask the user what their intent is, and then go and have a look up for your different intents that you've configured. You can turn these on and off if you like. I've got mine both turned on. And next we have this loop until action, and this might seem quite a trivial thing, but it's something that's done in bots quite a lot. So it's basically asking the bot to try again. So the user hasn't input something correct or something's went wrong and you want to try again. With other bot builders, this requires some code. So it's really easy and intuitive to use to just drag and drop a block, and you'll notice that it's grayed out. So that shows you the start and the end of the loop. Another thing I showed you on the demo was the time, or the validation whenever I was entering the time. So you can put in validation at each step, and this makes a far better end user experience for the people interacting with the bot. Maybe just two more things that I'll mention is, again, here's the data action call where I done the database lookup on the doctor name based on the ID. So this is really good because, again, it gives for a much better user experience. With the original Dialog Engine, you had to do these lookup calls whenever you went back to Architect or Intelligent Automation or Designer. So the user could have entered 10 things before you actually found out that something was wrong and they maybe had to go back and enter it again. So this is really powerful to be able to put in these data actions like at any point in the flow. And then finally, bot flows can be used across voice and digital. So you can use the same bot flow for voice and chat. So let me just show you an example. So this would be my welcome message for the digital channel. So I've said here, you can enter, but then for my voice, I have, you can say, so I can have a different set of wording for voice and chat, and also languages as well, different set of wording for languages. So you're just always managing the one bot flow across multiple channels or languages. And yeah, I'll end it there. Back over to you, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Nicola. All right, I'm gonna share one more time, I think. And that's not what I wanted to show. Let's see. I think I want this browser. So if you have any questions, now would be a good time to put them into the Q&A section. If you can use the Q&A section instead of the chat option, that would be beneficial on Zoom. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen should be a Q&A button. If you have any questions, please put them there. We'll try and get them answered. Let's see, training with Excel file. What if the question is not exactly the same? So I know I typed hours of operation. So the reason I typed in hours and it started asking me what my zip code was because intents take precedence over the knowledge. And so it tried to fill out the intent. It thought I wanted to get the hours for a specific branch instead of a more general FAQ. So it does not have to be the same though. If you have just a bot that just does an FAQ knowledge base, then the bot will analyze your questions and again, try to determine the correct answer that it should select based on a confidence level of matching the question. So Richards, I hope that answered your question. If not, ask another one. David, what was the learning section? Okay, so let me show you that. So learning is kind of cool. So you can imagine you're gonna create a bot, right? You're gonna create these utterances in the bot, and maybe you only start out with 5 utterances for an intent, like booking a room, right? You might only have 5 sentences there. But as I said, everybody who visits your website may ask that question in a different way or may talk to their intent in a different way. So the learning section is really cool. It will show you all of the questions that have been asked. And I assume these are ones that it didn't match 100%. It might be everyone. But the idea is you can train the bot to become better and better at recognizing intents by saying, okay, I was asked this utterance and I predicted it was a currency exchange. Was that correct? And I can confirm that. And so now the NLU can take that into account for its algorithm to identify that intent. And so I can go down here and see all the ways that those questions were asked. I can't pay my bill. Is this related to trouble paying a bill? Yes, it was. And if it's not, then you can not confirm it, and it'll just help train your bot better. So that's what the learning section is, David, on that. And there's also a report. So I don't know if this will be in the architect flow version, but I assume there's some kind of report that will tell you the accuracy of your bot based on actual intent percentages and predicted amounts and how well it did based on questions it was asked. So you can view how well the NLU is doing on determining intent.
And yeah, just to add a couple of things to that, the learning tab is, you would use that once your bot's live and that's all your live utterances coming through. Our linguistics team is actually going to update our documentation with some like actual examples of when you should do it and or when you should add stuff. You know, like you can just click to confirm. It's not always a good idea to just do that on everything. So there's going to be documentation from our linguistics team on best practices and examples of what to do. And then this intent Learning tab will be in tomorrow in the new Dialog Engine bot flows. The intent accuracy report, it won't be there tomorrow, but it will be. And you can check the documentation for this, but the purpose of the intent accuracy report is before you put the bot live, this will tell you based on your utterances and intents that you've configured if they're going to be likely to get confused with one another whenever you actually put it live. There's good documentation on that one.
All right, thanks, Nicola. Calandavel, I hope I said that right. No. Is it possible to pick particular keyword combinations from unstructured email body text to make routing decisions? Well, so I have not actually built up an example of sending an email body into the NLU engine. That's something I want to play with. It's something I've been wanting to try out for a while. I feel like you could send any unstructured text into the NLU and see how it would work. Your mileage may vary there. I would definitely say try to work up an example and see how it does. But in theory, it should be able to take, a body of an email and potentially determine intent. Maybe the threshold won't be terribly high in what it returns to you, but you can see potentially what the highest matching intent is and then maybe route based on that. I don't know if you'd want to fill slots. You may not ever want to fill slots in that case because it could be wrong, but I feel like it could at least look at the contents of an email and maybe determine, oh, this is a question on billing versus a question on support, right? Anyway, I do plan to write a blog or something later. If I get that worked out, I'll put that on the Developer Center because I think that'd be a cool use case. All right, some anonymous attendee. We have many intranet articles that contain knowledge, but they are not in explicit question answer format. How do we get that information into the model without having to rework them all? I feel like that's going to be probably a manual process. I feel like you're going to have to take those articles and maybe have somebody go through and put some questions, a question or two on them.
Yeah, I can add to that,
yeah,
Jim.
Go ahead, Nicola.
So we actually have a whole roadmap on knowledge. So it's not just going to be the Excel spreadsheet anymore. It's going to
Uh-oh. I think we lost Nicola's audio. So it sounds like maybe there's something on the roadmap for that. So stay tuned. Okay, from Richards, sorry, but I've lost the part about the importance between intent and knowledge. Which is more important? I think the intents. The intents are probably more important than knowledge. And if you could actually have two bots, right? You could have a bot that's just intents and another bot that's just knowledge if you wanted to put two different kinds of chat on different sections of your website. So, but if you mix and match them, I think intents are always going to take precedence over knowledge. All right, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We got a couple of minutes left. If anybody's got a question, please feel free to ask that. If you have a question that comes up after this, if you go to the Developer Center, let me bring that up. So I go to, not tools, Genesys Developer Center at developer.mypurecloud.com. And you have a question about the bots, I'd encourage you to scroll to the bottom and click on the forum link and go to our developer forum, and you can post a question there. We have lots of people who monitor the developer forums, and you can ask a question about the bots there, and we'll do our best to get those answered for you as well. So, you know, as you're playing around with it, or you're playing with the APIs, or whatever, you can ask a question there. The other place to ask those would be on community.genesys.com. So if you go to community.genesys.com, we have forums there also, the forum for Genesys Cloud or Connect or Engage. And you can post just general questions about, how to do something in Architect or how to do something in Genesys Cloud Admin. Any question you want to ask, these are monitored also, and we try to get answers to you as quick as possible. So either place would be a good place to ask questions about Dialog Engine, and we'll get those answers for you that way. All right, we got Casey asked something just toward the end here. What is the advantage, disadvantage between using Genesys Dialog Engine and Genesys Dialogflow? Well, I'm sure we have a write-up on the benefits of of ours over the other. Ours is integrated, obviously, right? And it comes with your Genesys Cloud subscription. If you're a Genesys Cloud 2 or 3 licensee, you're going to get Dialog Engine with there is a pricing structure for bot invocations. Where did I find that? If I go back.
Jim, I need to drop for another call, but
yeah.
Dialog Engine will be cheaper.
Yeah, yeah, it will be. Yeah, so we charge fractions of a cent per API request back and forth. So again, this pricing article talks about that, but it's also built into Genesys, and you can use it. I'm sure if you were talking to Google, they would say theirs is better and this is why. Everybody's got their secret sauce that makes them better. So I would encourage you to play with either one and just pick which works best for you, honestly. We're all about the customer experience. So whichever one provides the best customer experience to your end customers, that's what you should go with. I would hope Genesys Dialog Engine would suit those needs for you, but that's up to you to research and find out. So we're at the top of the hour. We're a little past. I apologize for that. I am going to close this out. This will be recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel. If you go to developer.mypurecloud.com/videos, you'll be able to review this offline in a couple of days. And again, post on the developer forum or communities.genesys.com if you have any questions. Thank you all for attending, and we'll talk with you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.